So my name is Lucy Bassli. Until Friday midnight, this past Friday, I was with Microsoft Corporation. I was Assistant General Counsel there and overseeing legal operations and contracting. I did that for 13 years. And what I want to do is take you a little bit through the journey of what we accomplished there. And I'm going to keep saying we until I get it out of my system, but it's all still fresh. So pardon me for that. It was a journey, and this isn't 101, and I'm not going to tell you what is AI and what isn't AI, because I think you're all figuring that out through this process. But the journey I want to take you through is about the people and the process before the tools. You're already doing it. You're already implementing. That's why you're here. You know it's the right thing to do. You're already moving it forward. But just in this past 15, 20 minutes, at least 5 people asked me about the process, the workflow, the how, the templates, the how do you, because you know you're already sold on the technology and you know it's the right thing to do. But we also know that if you're working within the legal department, if you're working within the legal profession and you're working with the attorneys whose jobs you're trying to enable and enhance and improve, it could still be a little bit of a hard sell. So our journey takes me back really about a decade when we first started thinking about what are we going to do with all these contracts. All of you know there's too many contracts, there's not enough time. All of you are here because of that. You're either spending too much money sending them out to law firms, or you're spending too much time on them and you can't even spend the time to prioritize and figure out if these are the contracts you should be doing, because you can't stop, right? In-house counsel can't take a break because the contracts keep coming in and it is this tidal wave and just flow of never-ending work. A problem that, frankly, law firms actually don't have, or maybe wish they would have, is the never-ending work and the flow. We have the exact opposite problem in-house. So start thinking about what are the people and the processes that are even involved. Okay, again, I know you're tech savvy and I know you want to go there. But if we don't take a minute to think about who this technology is going to impact, who it's going to help, who it's going to scare a little bit, who it might hurt a little bit, it's just not going to be a successful implementation. Because any tech implementation is about change management. And what are we managing? The change in people and the change in their processes. So smart resource allocation. Okay, those are big words, but really it's the people and what they're doing. Who are the right people that should be doing the right kind of work? Do you only have attorneys doing contracts all the time? Only attorneys doing all of the contracts? Okay, that's the first question that we need to start asking ourselves. Who are all of these other professionals that we know are out there that lawyers maybe aren't as good at working with yet, but they need to start working with them really well? Operations managers, Six Sigma professionals, project managers, program managers, data analysts, financial analysts, you name it, they're out there. And they're there to help, and they can actually start improving that contracting process in connection with the automation that you're trying to achieve and be successful at. You also have all these other disciplines that, by the way, are probably more comfortable with technology already. They are probably in fields, disciplines, and came from companies that have implemented tech and have done it for years, and nothing about that scares them at all. So how do you engage these other professionals into your legal department and engage them to work with your lawyers in a way that will enable your lawyers to accept this change in a little bit of a more gentle way? So back to the lawyers. Now, why are they the only ones touching contracts? With the exception of these other professionals I've listed, there are people who are actually just really good at contracts. There's an entire discipline of contract management. If you're familiar with the International Association of Commercial and Contract Management, I knew I couldn't get that out in one word, IACCM, or one breath, and I can usually squeeze in a lot, but that one's hard. But IACCM has been around for well over a decade, and they're all about the contract manager profession, right? These are experts and people who, frankly, rightfully or wrongfully, don't cost as much as attorneys, don't get paid as much as attorneys, but they're expert negotiators, they're expert at contracts. And guess what they're experts at? Process. So how do we help bring in contract professionals? Call it what you want, contract specialists, negotiators, managers, fill in the blank. But those are other disciplines that should be a part of your contracting process. They're a part of what you should start calling a contracting operation. Because you're talking about bringing in this amazing technology. It's sexy, it's cool, you've either already started it, you've been wowed by the demos, you're wowing your peers with the demos, but guess what? There are all of the stuff that still needs to be ready for this to be super impactful. So bring in the contracting professionals who know everything about how a contract lives. First of all, they're experts within the document, right? You've got your 4 corners of the paper. They're experts with all the words that are in there, and that is exactly what LawGeex is here to help. Make sure they have the smartest service, right, for the content in the document. But guess what? These contracting professionals know that lawyers have a really tough time explaining. They know how that contract travels. That's a process. Again, lawyers don't think of their day jobs as a process, but everything really actually is a process in what they do. So these contracting professionals could be exactly the right kind of people that can also help enable, right, a more successful tech implementation. So process, I mentioned it now a couple of times. We talked all the different kind of people that are involved. But what is the process? We were just joking, a couple of us were standing out there and somebody said, oh, we don't have a process. That's actually all a big mess. And, actually, it is a process, because everything else is a process. It might not be optimized. It might not be efficient, but everything is a process. So start talking to your peers, to yourselves, as the attorneys in the room, or those who you're trying to impact the change with. Start talking to them about how their day job is actually a process. Tools are here to enable an optimized process, right? Tools are here to make that process even that much more efficient. But starting to think about the legal practice as a process is another leap that we need to make. LegalTech is doing a fantastic job enforcing that conversation, because it's here, it's arrived, it's been here actually now for a couple of years. What it's doing is causing the conversation that actually we should be having simultaneously all along. So our journey at Microsoft that I took for well over a dozen years was really all about first understanding our process, understanding our workflow, stratifying the people and the resources who are touching these contracts. We very quickly started realizing that 35 people across our department was too many to touch the same type of contract. In our case, it was procurement contracts. Why are 35 lawyers touching them? And how much time are they spending? And each time they touch one, it's the first time when they have to reorient themselves and find templates and find fallbacks and seek out information. And that's something they touch once in those 3 days, then once again in 2-3 days later. There's no way that they're optimizing even the knowledge that they have in their head as good as they are at solving that particular legal issue, right? So first thing we worked on is centralizing that work and creating a core group of people. That is change management. That is taking work away from some people. That is moving it to other people. There's a lot that has to go into that process, okay? The process of changing before we even get into the actual process mapping, which leads me then to my favorite people, my Six Sigma professionals that I met, and it was instant love. We spent a week together in a conference room, locked away. Things will happen there that I cannot share, but I came out of that with the most amazing, beautiful, mapped out process. I had everything that my team did on series of pages of squares and diamonds and circles and arrows, and it was amazing. It was like a gateway drug for me, but I know I wanted more. Well, guess what I got to do with that? I got to then issue RFPs with it. I now had a standard. I could put out an SLA from the legal department. What? Our clients had no idea what hit them. And guess what? They didn't know what hit them back when I said, no, I told you 2 days, right? And I can tell you that on average, everything I've done for you has been 1.8 days, so back off. So suddenly I had a very different conversation with the business as well. Again, the in-house teams are here to enable a business. We aren't the business. Our law firms, the good ones, know that, and they need to remember that. Tech providers know that, and they need to remember that. We're only all here to serve a business at the end of the day, right? So how do you get the most effective process with the right people and the right technology to give you that most optimized solution? So that was my journey, was just as much about the people and the process as it was about the tools. Now, what did we automate? We automated all kinds of stuff. I mean, again, you've all probably done a lot of these things, but we've automated NDA creation, we've automated contract workflow intake. I know everything that comes in. I know exactly how long it takes. I know how long it sat there. I know where it came from. I have a beautiful visual quilt of colors. And I look at that one color that's so tiny I can't even make it out, because I'm wondering, what the heck are we spending time on? Well, it's that one contract that comes in the Swahili language. And yes, it took us 4.3 days to turn around instead of 1.2. But that data, all of that is thanks to technology enabling us to track. The process was there and it was ready, but without the technology, there is no way that I can have that kind of an impactful conversation with the business. So if I summarize everything that I've learned about tech in my journey, it's tech is successful and people are actually happy with it if you go into it with the right process and the right people already. If you try to reverse it, I don't know how successful that could be.